So in this lab, we're going to use Gen AI to evaluate the relationship between R&D expenditures and sales revenues. So let's go ahead and get started on that. We've got some data that we're going to use, so let's go ahead and find that data and upload it. I usually like to start with a new chat, and that allows me to clear the registers. But here I am inserting this data and evaluating it so I can see the dates through the years and the various amounts. I often like to ask it to provide the last 5 lines of data. So this isn't a really long data set, and I could certainly tab through and see that. But I like to make sure all the data is there. I'd hate to do all this work and make a suggestion and then found out that ChatGPT didn't load all the data. Okay, so it looks like everything's there for the last set. This goes through 2024. And I'm going to ask it to create a scatter plot, and I want to put revenues on the y-axis because I believe revenues is a dependent variable and that it is predicted R&D expenditures is an independent variable working to explain that. So I'm going to go ahead and name the axes that I think it should appear and see this scatter plot. So as I do this scatter plot, I'm going to look at the relationship between both of them. And I can kind of see what this looks like. It kind of looks positive, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it to insert a trend line and to go ahead and run a regression, because I want to know for every dollar of R&D, assuming a positive relationship, how much revenues it helps create. And so I'm going to go ahead and run that same scatter plot, and I can see this relationship here. And I could go ahead and download this chart if I wanted to. I could also go and look at the details associated with it. So it looks like the slope is 9.28. So every dollar of R&D expenditure is associated with $9.28 worth of sales. I've got a fairly high adjusted R-square. It looks to be highly significant. The model looks to be significant. So it looks like something we can go with. I also want to just quickly point out this is view analysis, which is essentially running Python, and this is the Python code. So if I were familiar with Python, I could see exactly what it was doing. A lot of times people believe that ChatGPT is a black box, but to the extent it's going to show me exactly what it's doing, then I'm able to interpret and modify as needed. So once I have that trend line, now I could ask it a question such as, hey, if R&D expenditures were, in this case, $5 million, what would we expect sales to be? And so essentially what I'm doing is I'm going and putting in $5 million for this X, and I'm using that, multiplying by 9.28, adding the y-intercept to give me the total, and it looks like the total there is given. So as you might see in the assessment later, if you work through that, I might ask a number of questions asking you, hey, if it were a certain level, what would we expect sales to be? Because we've got this plot, we've kind of used and established the relationship, we've got now an expectation of that line looking forward. So the last thing it has to do is to output the various things, so we could go through and essentially provide various outputs. If you look at the instructions, for example, on the outputs, we're asking it to output the scatter plot, or I could just download it there. When I ask a specific output, it's going to name it exactly this. I like that. It's also going to provide the regression results. And if I provided and asked it to provide full regression results, you'd see a lot more stats that a lot of statisticians and data analysts would be interested in. And finally, I could ask it to produce or output the prompts. Sometimes I'll do that to the screen, so I'll just say, please output the prompt to the screen. And other times I'll say, hey, go ahead and put it in a Word document, and then I can just save it with the other analysis. I like to know specifically what I asked it to do, because if only the final visualization is there and I didn't know the details of getting there, someone asked me a question, I'm like, I don't know, ChatGPT did it. So that provides some guidance there. But a lot of times, the visualizations can just be downloaded here. The only problem is when you do it that way, it will just say the word output, and that doesn't mean as much, or I've got to go change it later. So I might as well do it right the first time. I guess listening to my mom, right? That's what she would say. Do it right the first time. So that completes this lab.